Welcome to Medill Newsmakers. I'm Haiti Clotter. Over the years, the number of Black entrepreneurs has only slightly increased, according to a 2015 report by the Kaufman Index. In 2014, Blacks made up 9.2% of all new entrepreneurs compared to 8.4% 20 years ago. Local entrepreneurs are doing what they can to increase the number of Black businesses. Jimmy Prude is the owner of Jimmy's Vegan Cookies, something that anyone can enjoy. His vegan cookies can be found at the local Whole Foods and Sugar Beet grocery stores. Let's take a look at Jimmy and his story.
I've always been interested in the entrepreneurial side of business. I've always ran something that allowed me to explore business in a different way.
In grade school, Jimmy Prude began selling candy to his classmates from his locker room. All he wanted was enough money for pizza and desserts.
If it wasn't candy bars, in high school, it was being a consultant on tech issues.
According to his website, Jimmy's Vegan Cookies offers all the sweetness of a cookie with healthy ingredients.
I've always been an entrepreneur, and this is that one niche that has stuck and has worked well. Not that the other ones didn't, but when one works and it works well and it combines every aspect of the work that you used to do into one.
Prude's company continues to grow. Already, some flavors are selling on the cookie aisle of Sugar Beets and Whole Food stores in Chicago.
We were able to find better ingredients, right? You initially start with what you think are good ingredients, right? And then when you listen to the customer and they provide you additional feedback, you may take something out and you may add something.
Prude's business guidelines all comes back to something his father told him when he was young.
Nobody said the road was going to be easy, right? So you always have tough times when it comes to business. And if you want it, you just do it.
Welcome, Jimmy.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us. So, you're originally from Chicago. Can you tell me why you decided to start your business here in Chicago?
So I decided to start the business in Chicago because I was already working in Chicago. I started the business during a time when I was a community organizer that focused on health and technology policy. So a lot of my work evolved around healthy lifestyles and working with many neighborhoods and communities on the South Side for technology and adoption, but also looking at better ways we source food, but also how we deal with food in our daily lifestyles. So I started that business in 2011, Jimmy's Vegan Cookies, and from there grew it to where we are today with regards to being in Whole Foods and pushing them throughout Chicago.
So why cookie of all things?
It's what stuck. So with most businesses, our entrepreneurs go through sometimes different variations of businesses before one sticks. When I was in high school, I had a technology business that I ran where I actually helped people, of course, fix computers, but also customize systems that fit the need of each individual. And then, as time went on, I worked with this business because I wanted to have a great tasting, healthier alternative. I found it very difficult to find great tasting vegan products. So, I also got tired of what we would call buyer's remorse. So you spend a lot of money on dessert alternatives, and I'm a vegan, so I appreciate good food. And I don't want buyer's remorse.
So why should people get Jimmy's Vegan Cookies? Why not Chips Ahoy or Oreos?
Because they're great tasting. They're delicious. And I think people want to enjoy healthier alternatives today. I also think people just want good food. And I think because it's a good product, at least I think so, I think people would enjoy it, and I want people to have access to it.
So what were some of the challenges you faced early on when you wanted to start your business?
So you always have, some challenges around building capacity, right? And if you starting off initially as just yourself, you have to find the right people to work with you. I think one of the most challenging things that I've come across with the business is finding the right people to work with me. I would probably say I've had great people in times past work with me, but I've just recently started to find the best people that are able to work with me work with me that fit with regard to creativity, with regards to vision, and with regards to people who potentially want to have their own businesses one day.
And what do you think needs to happen for there to be more Black entrepreneurs in Chicago?
I think when you're dealing with talent, you want to cultivate talent. So any city needs to cultivate their talent. So anytime you cultivate talent, you have to start. You have to start with people when they're young. So you make resources available that actually help stimulate that area of a market around young entrepreneurs or people who want to enter the into that business space. So if that means the city needs to provide a certain type of resource or resources for people to be successful, that needs to always be readily available. If the city wants to grow talent to stimulate the economy 15, 20 years down the line with small businesses, which has kind of been the main messaging around what drives, cities in the country, cities need to work with youth early on, if that means providing business education classes, financial literacy classes, and getting them used to dealing with not only money, but dealing with their ideas and cultivating their ideas, cultivating that creativity to either produce a product or produce a service and work with people. These are the things that cities, I believe, should work on with cultivating talent.
Can you quickly tell me about your delicious treats? What flavors do you have here?
So I started off in 2011 with the Loaded Vegan. We had another item in the product line which was more of like an oatmeal chocolate chip type of cookie, and it did well. But the one that sold the best was the Loaded Vegan, which is a combination of vegan dark chocolate chips, Amish grains, coconut oil, and agave. I had the opportunity to meet a gentleman last year who actually runs an agave company who sources his agave straight from central Mexico. I worked with him during a time when he had distribution facilities along the West Coast, but he just recently opened one in the Midwest, which now allows us to actually have access to a better quality agave that is a natural sweetener that we use in our product. So when people ask, how do you get it to taste this way and it tastes fresh, it's because we're using specifically sourced ingredients to provide a great tasting product. The second year of business, I introduced the Dark Berry Vegan because listening to a lot of the customers that we had, they wanted something a little bit more unique, more different. They wanted cranberries, and after testing these out as samples with people, it did well. So we introduced the second version, which is the Dark Berry Vegan, which is a combination of moist cranberries, so it's not your typical dry cranberry type of fruit. So moist cranberries, couple that with the vegan dark chocolate chip, and the base being Amish grains, coconut oil, and agave, and specially sourced stone ground whole wheat. That's what makes up the base of the product. And this is the second bestseller. It's actually, I think, becoming the first bestseller. So it's actually beating out the Loaded Vegan in some cases.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Jimmy. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you later on in the show.
All right, appreciate it. Thank you.
We spoke to another Black entrepreneur through Skype, where he discussed some of the challenges he's faced because of his race. Joe Spearman co-founded Locler, a travel review site. Think of Yelp, but the reviews are made by locals. Can you briefly explain to me what Locler is for those who may not know?
Yeah, it's a startup that allows people to find and share the best local places to eat, to drink, to play. And we're really focused on authenticity. So rather than allowing people to anonymously contribute reviews about places like on Yelp or TripAdvisor, or allow tourists to offer reviews, we really focus on letting locals share the best local places.
And as a Black entrepreneur, do you ever feel any type of discrimination, or do you ever feel that your race hurts or helps your business?
What I would say is that a lot of times in technology, especially, there is what venture capitalists consider a pattern matching, which means basically if Mark Zuckerberg is a billionaire tech CEO, then they're looking for more Mark Zuckerbergs. And so a lot of people, I do think that they may subconsciously ingrain that into themselves to believe that they need to be, Caucasian males with experience at Ivy League colleges. But I do think that there is a percentage of people in tech, especially, who are far more open-minded. I mean, at the end of the day, tech is an industry where people are trying to disrupt things, and some people want to disrupt things by finding people who don't necessarily match the existing pattern. But yeah, I would say to some degree, it has been somewhat of a factor, mostly because of there's just a lack of familiarity. There aren't 10 stories of successful Black entrepreneurs in technology, so people don't necessarily know if they have a reason to believe that there will be another one.
What makes Localor different from Yelp? Why should they go and use your app instead of theirs?
Yeah, well, I think that the great thing about Localer is that for every place that's on Localer, it's always going to be a place that's been recommended by a local, and it's a locally owned place. So on Yelp, if you type coffee, you may see reviews of Starbucks or Applebee's or McDonald's, and many of those reviews will be anonymous, and they're going to be from non-locals. So with Localer, you're going to get straight to the ground truth of what the best places are in a city.
The search for an apartment can be a difficult task. Find out how a young entrepreneur is trying to make it easier for you.
At Northwestern, we're wildcats in every way.
Northwestern break right through that. With our colors flying, we will cheer you all to go. Go you Northwestern, fight for the sweet victory, spread for the fame of our fair name, and go Northwestern, win that game. Go Cats!
At Northwestern, we're wildcats in every way.
John Thomas is earning his MBA at the Kellogg School of Management at Northwestern University and is in the studio to talk about his new startup, Fully Screened. Thank you, John, for joining us. So can you tell me, what is Fully Screened?
Sure. So first off, Haiti, thanks for having me. So Fully Screened helps internationals find housing in the U.S. and abroad. And this was started a little over a year ago, and now we've grown a team to 10 people. We just finished an accelerator at the garage. And we're really excited to help people find their new home or apartment wherever they're going in the world.
So what were you doing before you started Fully Screened?
Doing a lot of things. So I'm originally from Chicago. And then I went to Indiana and got degrees in math and economics. And then I went to Minnesota to work for US Bank. And there I really got into real estate. And so I ended up buying some multifamily properties that I still own and manage. And I noticed a lot of inefficiencies with the housing market just working in Minnesota. So when I came here to Kellogg and I was looking at a lot of the international students, I discovered how much problems they had with finding housing when they come from a foreign country and not knowing the local market. And so we went out and talked to customers, we figured out where the pain points were, and now we're happy to be serving clients who are coming into the US looking for their next dream apartment.
So what's been the feedback that you've been getting from the people you've helped?
It's been really positive. So a lot of our clients come to us because they want to feel safe in the place that they decide to live in. They don't really know the Chicago market well. Most of our clients now are in Chicago. They don't know the neighborhoods that well. Some of our clients have really strong language barriers or heavy accents that can really put off a lot of landowners. There are time difference issues. There's the problem of finding furniture once you find your apartment, paying security deposits, not having social security numbers. The list goes on from a lot of our clients who come to us for help with these problems, and we're happy to help. So far, all of our clients that are coming in for June and September are really happy to find places at great rates in great neighborhoods so they can study here, live here, and work here, just like locals do.
So is your service free, or is there a charge for your services?
We charge an agent fee of $200 for the students or the international traveler moving, And that's really to start the relationship, and that gets our team going. So as soon as we have the intake and the client signs up for our agency services, we start hitting the streets and pounding the ground to make sure that we can find them the best possible place. So we talk to landlords, we go on our own visits, take our own pictures, and do videos for the clients to make sure that they can feel like they're doing the showings as if they're already here. And then once the client signs up, then most of our revenue comes from the property owner, from paying us a commission as a realtor to successfully place that client.
What were some of the challenges that you faced starting Fully Screen, especially being a student as well?
Sure. So with any startup, you go through a lot of pivots. So you have this idea of the company you want to build and how you want things to happen, and it never really goes that way. So you go out, you talk to clients, and you realize that the problems that you see are not really the problems out in the real world. And so we started off solving the problem of clients who have storied background checks, clients who may have had a drug possession, for example, or a recent eviction, and helping them find the place that would be sensitive to their backgrounds. From there, we pivoted a couple times before, and now that we've really found this pain point of people moving from country A to country B, we've gotten a lot more success. So hiring the team has been a struggle. Happy to say that we're at 10 people now and always recruiting, but really finding the funding to get a lot of things done. When you're running a startup, you get a lot of criticism, you get a lot of advice, some good and some bad, and so it really teaches you to be level-headed and be focused on what your goal is and what your company is designed to do.
So do you think race plays any factor in your business, especially when clients are seeking your help but they don't know that you're Black? So how do you think that plays a part?
Sure. So with handling clients from all over the world, every country has their own level of trust, and people typically trust people who come from their same backgrounds that they can identify with. And so what we found is, for our team, for example, we try to be as diverse as possible, but we've noticed that from our South American clients, almost always contact our COO, Rolando Manzo, because he looks Hispanic, which is fine for me. And most of our Indian clients contact one of our interns, Maya, because she looks like them. And so I have to make sure that we are very across cultural team, so that any client can kind of go to the person that they feel most comfortable with. But as far as being Black, the clients don't seem to care as much. It really comes on the other side when you talk about raising money, getting institutional support, and going into competitions. There can be an extra barrier that you have to hurdle because of people's kind of perceptions about you, or some of their preconceived notions about what kind of management skill you have or how you might see the world.
Up next, Jimmy Prude joins us to tell us about how being Black can help or hurt businesses, and we'll also speak to Cress Bennett through Skype to discuss the future of Black entrepreneurs. Stay with us.
At Northwestern, we're wildcats in every way.
Northwestern, break right through that. With our colors flying, we will cheer you all to go. Go you Northwestern, fight for victory, sweet victory, spread for the fame of our fair name, and go Northwestern, win that game. Go Cats!
Can the race of the business owner impact sales? Jimmy Prude and John Thomas are here to share some of their experiences. Thank you, Jimmy and John, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So, according to the U.S. Census Bureau American Express 2015 business report, only 13% of Black small business owners report to obtain the credit that they need. Can you give me your opinion on that, John?
Sure. So I worked in finance for a while for U.S. Bank, so I know a lot about credit approval processes. And from what I've seen from the Black community is that it really starts with personal credit. So a lot of business owners may have damaged personal credit. They may have bankruptcies or low credit scores, and then when they go to start a business, they're often surprised that those things show up. But then there's also a lot of, a lot of putting together your business plan to know when you should need financing. For most business loans, you need to have collateral or some kind of something in place so that the bank feels comfortable with that. And what I've seen a lot in our community, we don't really own a lot of things to hold up for collateral. And when I say our community, I mean the Black community, because we have lower rates of owning homes and owning just property in general, that it makes it harder to secure financing when you never had financing before.
And Jimmy, what do you think?
I mean, I agree. I think a lot of African Americans can be impacted by personal credit for various reasons, especially young adults that are African Americans coming out of college with debt or taking over maybe financial obligations that parents might have passed on to them in death possibly, or in any other circumstances where they have to take care of financial needs, right? So I think one of the best options that I've learned to take advantage of personally, and that I've also recommended to friends, families, and other like entrepreneurs, is to find what some in the industry would call credit rebuilding programs, right? So even if you have good credit while you're building a business, you never know. So you always have to like look out for that unknown and prepare ahead of time, be proactive. So being in the credit repair program would allow you to, one, make monthly payments so that you're showing some type of credit agency that you can make on-time monthly payments. Once you're in these, it keeps your credit score at check, right? It actually helps improve the credit score. And because of those programs, they also allow you the opportunity to monthly check your credit score so that you know personally where you stand with your personal credit, because like John did mention, it can impact your lines of credit that you receive as a business owner seeking additional capital from an institution or financing institution. So I think that's the first step.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And I would say just having a relationship with credit. I know a lot of people in our culture just have a big disdain for banks, for credit cards, for any forms of credit. So when they go to apply for a business loan and they have no credit history, then it's hard to get that thing approved. And so I'd say start off personally with just a small credit card, even if it's a store card, to make sure you can start building your credit history before you actually need it.
Right. There was also a book. I can't remember the author's name. She's an excellent woman. The name of the book is called "Girl, Get Your Credit Straight," right? Mm-hmm. And I was at an event that provided these books to us. So it's don't let the title mislead you. It's, girl, get your credit straight, but also if you get this book, you'll get your credit straight too, right? So it's for everybody. I would highly recommend that book, step by step, for business owners, entrepreneurs, personal financing and understanding your personal financing and credit. Even if you're not a business owner, I recommend that book. I highly recommend that book.
I'll have to check it out. Mm-hmm. So have you ever, both of you guys, ever felt that as a Black entrepreneur you've missed out on any business opportunities?
I can't say that I have. I mean, I think so again, I come from finance, and so I make sure all my ducks in a row before I go looking for any kind of financing. But oftentimes when you get denied for, say, a competition or for a loan, you don't always know the reasons why. It's helpful to have some visibility, but I never like to assume that it's because I'm Black that I didn't get this loan or get this opportunity. I like to attribute it to other things, and so it's hard to say if I've ever been denied something because I was Black. Jimmy, I don't know if you can comment.
I know it's challenging as an African American business owner. It depends on the area of business that you're in. I don't think being an African American business owner can affect your business. I actually feel a little bit of the opposite because, in times past, I've heard people say, you shouldn't put your name on your product or your service. You shouldn't put your face on your website. This goes for not just like African Americans, but any person that's of color running a business. I think that's, not saying that is going to hinder you, but I think be in the front of it, right? Like John says, be proactive, get ahead of the game. Understand that if you are going to be the brand of your product or service, do your brand well, right? Make sure you tell the story of the brand. And if that story of the brand is yourself, make sure you tell it. Make sure it's relatable. It's nothing wrong with being the face or being that personal story of whatever product or service that you're providing to people. With regards to the challenges that are faced, I think you do face challenges. I think race will be one of those challenges that you face when you're interacting with people who you may or may need with regards to leverage. in expanding your business. Like John said, you may not always know what the case is, but if you do feel like that may have impacted you, take it, understand it, learn from it, keep going. Not everybody's like that in the world, but it's good to have that that outlook with regards to going into business or engaging with people who you may have to rely on to leverage your business further for any product or service.
Okay. Well, I want to thank Jimmy and John for being here with us and sharing their experiences with us.
Thanks for having us, Kate.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Chris Bennett is a partner of Black Founders, an organization whose mission is to increase the number of successful Black entrepreneurs in technology. He shares with us his insight on the future of Black entrepreneurs. What is Black Founders, and why did you think it was important to create it?
We started Black Founders 5 years ago. Me, Monique, Hadia, and Nena. And we thought it was important to create because I've lived in other cities and I found that I really needed mentorship early on in my career. And being a Black male is a very unique experience in America. And I thought it was important for the next city I moved to have other Black individuals as mentors that I could connect with, and then also so that I can mentor other people based on what I learned. And when I moved here, there wasn't anything like that. So I decided to create it with three friends who felt like it was necessary as well. I didn't create it myself. We all worked on it together. And the thing that I've always been a big proponent for Black Founders is just making a big network of Black entrepreneurs who want to connect with each other. And it's become that, which is why I'm really happy. And it's one of those things that I can tap into personally whenever I need advice. And I often get people looking for advice or people moving to San Francisco who need help. And I'm often connecting them. And things like that are really valuable in a place like San Francisco where networks are more invaluable than pretty much anything. And so that is why we created it.
Do you think there will be more Black entrepreneurs in the future? And if so, what needs to happen?
Yeah, I do think there will be a lot more. I think that there's a lot of organizations like Black Founders and a ton of nonprofits that are being created to increase participation by Black individuals in technology. And as that happens more people are going to realize like the economic benefits of being an entrepreneur. It's pretty crazy. And on top of that, there's a lot of people who are becoming successful. And I think as more and more people see that, more people are going to enter the field. And that's kind of what's happening right now.
And you said some economic benefits. Do you mind sharing what those are, or what are some of those economic benefits?
I mean, you can become a billionaire by starting a company. I mean, like, how many fields can you say that can happen in a single person's lifetime or in 10 years? Like, I'm not talking like making $100,000 a year. I'm talking about like making enough money so that like 100 people will never have to work in your family, right? Like there's the San Francisco starting companies in technology are one of the few places in the world where you can create enough of an impact and have enough of an economic windfall that there's no other place in the world where those opportunities exist and are as abundant as they are in San Francisco. It's very common to hear such and such as a billionaire.
That's all we have for you. Thanks for watching. I'm Haiti Clotter.